What's up,
What's
Judah?
up, dude?
Hey,
I
happy
forgot.
Tuesday.
So we always, both of us try to talk at the same time. Today we agreed I was going to lead everything off,
I know.
and we both forgot. Yeah. So hello, everybody. This is Judah Hoover, and you are listening to the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show. We come to you every day at noon to talk about lively, timely topics that apply to real estate investors and realtors. Half an hour show. We do a mix of 5 to 10 minutes worth of news and then about 15 to 25 minutes worth of covering a good topic as it is relevant current information, not information that was like from a book from the 1970s or anything like that. My name is Judah Hoover. I'm an executive with Slate House Group. We are a full service real estate company. We call ourselves a modern real estate company. And I want to list and sell your house for you. I want to help you find and buy your next primary residence or secondary home or vacation home or investment property. We are very investor focused and investor friendly. So that is very much who we go after for a large segment of our clients. But really the thing is, your primary residence is probably going to be your largest investment, and other than maybe your 401k. And so it makes sense, if that is your largest investment, if real estate is your largest investment, work with somebody who understands investing in real estate. Give me a call from Slate House Group. My name is Judah Hoover. Who the heck are you, Josh?
Hey, my name's Josh Weidman. I'm with Hard Money Bankers. I am a 14-year. I've got 14 years of experience investing in real estate. And in February of this year, we opened up a local branch here for Hard Money Bankers. We are a direct and local lender, which means that we lend our own money essentially. If you've got a project that you're looking to fund in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Northern Virginia, or DC, give me a ring. We underwrite things same day. You can get approved the same day on your project. And we do not do appraisals. We have very low red tape, very little paperwork. I'm going to need a little bit of information about you, a little bit of information about your project. And with that, I can underwrite the deal, approve the loan. If it looks good and the title work and is ready and all our ducks are in a row, we can close within 24 hours. So next time you've got a deal coming down the line, give me a ring. I'd love to give you a quote and kind of take it from there. So Judah, I mean, I got a couple things I got to say to you. we had a little banter yesterday, and look, I started out as a wholesaler. I thought it was going to be a flipper, and ended up using wholesaling as a vehicle to really learn my markets, to understand real estate investing, and really make some awesome connections in the business. And it catapulted my career in the business. So as I sit here, as you're insulting on a daily basis, these wholesalers, these guys that are in the streets doing the heavy lifting, I thought it was appropriate.
Just grinding it out, trying to make the rent payment.
That's right. Look, we all started somewhere, right? I mean, I didn't have two nickels to rub together when I first got started, and to make it worse, lost money on my first 3 deals. So getting into wholesaling was a godsend for me because it put me right in the hub as an investor. And I'd like to start on your side, and I'd like you to give me the superficial arguments. I know you didn't prepare for this, which I do, but I'd like you to just why do you dislike wholesalers so much?
So here's my challenge. I say things and then they're blown out of proportion and taken out of context. And so I think that when real estate investors are working with a wholesaler, they need to understand that that wholesaler's motivation is different than what their motivation is. And you can't just blindly trust everything that a wholesaler tells you. I've seen a lot of people get taken advantage of because a wholesaler says it's a $35,000 rehab, and really it's a $55,000. And sometimes that's because of one of 2 reasons. Either the wholesaler knows less about rehabbing properties than the stock guy at Lowe's, and sometimes those guys don't really know anything. or because they actually do know that, what it's going to be, but they reduce or shave or get shady with what the rehab numbers are to try and make a deal work.
Okay.
And I've seen that happen time and time again. So number one, either through malice or just ignorance, you can't trust a wholesaler's numbers when it comes to rehab. You
Fair.
also can't trust a wholesaler's numbers when it comes to what the after repair value of the property is. Nor
100%.
should you want to.
Okay.
So I say things like, well, you shouldn't want to because Josh, if you rehab a house, maybe you're going to list it and sell it for, 415, and I'm going to rehab and sell that house for 375. And I'm coming in lower so that it sells quicker. I didn't quite do as much of a rehab as you did, whereas you're trying to maximize every bit of rehab, and you can also do a higher quality rehab than the average bear out there, and therefore maximize your resale value. So when somebody says this is what this house will be worth, you need to take that with a grain of salt. And you should only trust your numbers. So my problem with wholesalers is not my problem with wholesalers, but my problem with naive buyers who over trust wholesalers.
So, I mean, your whole pitch should be, I hate buyers. I mean, that's really messed up, man. Like, look, okay, so I heard this quote. I'm gonna botch it. I know I'm gonna botch it.
Right.
But like it goes something like this. If you can't stand up for you, who's going to? If
Correct.
you're not worried about your own interests in a transaction, in a situation, a conversation with your wife, who the heck is going to worry about it?
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
So I totally agree with you. I think that in general, people's view of an investment is skewed based on their position or their position in the transaction. Just generally. I mean, that goes with agents, it goes with appraisers, it goes with lenders, it goes with a lot of different, on a lot of different ends. And to throw wholesalers under the bus as an industry, I think unfairly characterizes them. And I'm going to show you why. All right. Okay. So I as I said, I love wholesalers. So let's take a look here. I got a whole
Wholesalers are awesome. Great. So we are starting with a nice neutral, even-handed position there. I like it.
Absolutely. There is no speed bias here whatsoever, right? And the subheading is why Judah.
Why Judah's wrong. I mean that's the subheading of many a PowerPoint. I just want you to know there are many talks you could give that would have the subheading why Judah is wrong.
So in order to make my argument in the most concise and logical way, I divided up my arguments into three foundational elements, right? We have the community integration aspect of wholesaling,
right?
The advertising and awareness, and the third and possibly the most effective is other awesome reasons. Reasons, it's a big one.
Right. I mean, great. That's like in accounting. You're not you're supposed to file as little under miscellaneous as possible. I feel like other awesome reasons is the miscellaneous catch-all here.
Well, and I think it's important to understand that this is scientific research. Based on fact, right? So, all right. So let's take a look at community integration, and this is a big one. This is a real big one, and I think
those are big words. Yes,
this might be the most legitimate part of my presentation.
Okay.
All right. Now we all know that the number one place that people go to sell their home is they go to the agent or agents that they know. They go and list the house. In fact, 95% of sales happen through traditional means. It means listing on the MLS. You're signing the disclosures. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're using an agent. It's the same old process. It's very
cookie cutter, very, very replicatable,
but also very burdensome and can be very overwhelming for some sellers, especially people that are not terribly organized, people that are not terribly,
not organized. Dude, you're the most OCD guy I know.
The funny thing is, the only part of this entire room that I'm sitting in that has any organization
Is what's behind you.
Is my desk. There is piles of like, I'm like the hoarder. There's like piles of trash on each side. I just spread out a little.
Every once in a while, a random feral kid comes spilling out of them, and we see them running in the background.
I don't even know how many I have anymore.
Right.
But okay, because you have 90% of sales going through an agent, a lot of people, they don't even realize that there's another way. It doesn't even cross their mind. That's a problem because there are a lot of types of sales that have no business going through an agent for a number of different reasons. And I'm going to go into those reasons. The first one is that agents don't know what to do with problem situations, things that are not cookie cutter, because the vast majority of what they're dealing with are the same houses, decent properties in decent locations that are going to sell for very close to retail price. And frankly, that's what they want. Their job is to buy, is to list or to sell a property. It's not to solve problems.
Right.
So when you have, earlier this COVID crisis, it's almost like a month earlier during the COVID crisis, a wholesaler that both you and I know contacted me about a property that he got from an agent, a listing lead that he got from an agent. The property was not yet listed, and he was getting this property at a golden price. It was a really great price in a neighborhood that was pretty decent. Now, the property had fire damage, and this agent was very, very green. She was very new, didn't really know what she was doing. And so in conversation with the seller, he said, look, if I can get like 15,000 for this place, I'd be happy with it. Right. Well, she went to her broker or I'm sorry, her mentor at the time, talked to the mentor. The mentor says, 15,000 sounds like a pretty good price for this property. Great. Sounds good. So they're going to list it. They call this wholesaler. He goes out and he calls me because he's a little uncertain. Newer wholesaler as well. He's like, oh, what should we do with this? I think this is the exit value, whatever. Well, we pulled comps on it together, and his exit value was $50,000 to $75,000 less than the actual resale of the property.
Nice.
In fact, I look back 5 years in the MLS, and the lowest sales price within a half mile from the property for anything that sold was $85,000. And so a $15,000 sales price was a phenomenal deal. Right. If it was on the MLS, you'd have people lined up 10 miles long.
Right.
Issue is that the agent wasn't doing a service to the seller, number one. Number two, the wholesaler, it was a great deal. Once he found out what it was worth, he started working with it. But guess what? A new agent, the new agent got in her own way and screwed up the entire deal. The thing blew up. It was a mess.
Right.
I don't think the transaction even closed. So here's what you have, right? You have a very specific type of property that's a mess, right? You've got something that's outside of the normal stream of things. Why would you go to an agent to sell it? You need wholesalers around so they can step in, experts. They know the investors. They know people that can move quickly and can get the job done. In addition to that, agents, though they can list quickly, it's not often that they can sell quickly and sell that. Right? I mean, I'm dealing right now. We talked last week about some issues I was having with some title companies, right? Even retail title companies are different than the type of title company you want to use when you're dealing with a wholesale deal. Same idea. They're not used to the speed. They're not used to some of the other problems that come up with these type of properties. And so you got to have an expert. So that's number one, experts, right? Second issue is, or not issue, second argument for wholesalers is that more wholesalers equals more understanding, generally speaking. Okay.
Say more about that.
All right. If you told somebody that if you contact somebody and out of the blue, I mean, I've had this experience, contact somebody out of the blue, say, hey, look, would you be interested in selling your house? Almost at least 50% of the time, the first response I get is, well, I haven't contacted my agent yet. That's the first response. They don't even think that they could have a private transaction with, person to person. Doesn't even enter their thought process. I feel like with an insurgent, because we've had an upward moving market for an extended period of time, you have a lot of people drawn to wholesaling, and that has created a lot more understanding from the general community that, hey, these people that are buying cash, that's a little bit different of a process than going to my agent. And it's a possibility. Whether they're good or bad, it doesn't matter, right? But they're there. Secondly, well, it's the same deal. There's more than one way to do it, right? There's more than one way to sell, but more than that, it's understanding as you have new wholesalers. And I think this is where you're really ticked off about, or what you really have a problem with, is new wholesalers that jump in and just start trying to sling deals and put things under contract. And what ends up happening is things fall apart. Well, guess what? In every industry, you've got rock stars and you have duds, and most people are somewhere in the middle.
Right.
It's an educational process of teaching people that, hey, look, there are good people in every industry.
Right. I always say you're gonna have studs and you're gonna have duds.
There you go. That would have been better than Rockstar. I just like Rockstar. Right.
No worries.
My 5-year-old, that anytime that he says what he's going to do for a living, it's always like fireman Rockstar. It's like policeman Rockstar. Whatever it is, always Rockstar. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, advertising and awareness. Who's the number one house buying company or wholesale company in the U.S.? Number 1.
HUD.
Okay. Who's the number 1 cash buyer in the U.S.? I don't know either. We're supposed to be the experts, right?
Man, that's a good setup. That is a good setup.
Right? There's no brand for home buyers. There's not.
Right.
You know, when you have, even if you're like, think about it like this. Let's take yourself out of the industry. What's the layman go in and type into Google to find somebody to buy their house cash? Except the stupid tagline like "We buy houses cash," and like, who in their right mind that doesn't know that term is going to type that into Google? Nobody.
Right.
They might type in, "I got to sell it fast," or this or that. The reason for that is there's no underlying community understanding, and by having a lot of people advertising to the general public, it creates I don't know, at least a low level of understanding that, hey, there's another way to sell my house faster than listing with an agent. In addition, competition really helps everybody.
Right.
Unless this is going to eliminate 90% of wholesalers, but the 10% that are left are great. Most of the deals come from constantly following up, building that relationship, being in front of people over and over and over and over and over again.
You're breaking up, Josh. You're breaking up, Josh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I got you. Make your last point again.
Okay,
you were breaking up.
I can't tell you how many people have called my number from my website or from like a Google places. They go to a Google map and they find my ad, and they're like, "Yeah, I talked to you last week about such and such address," and I go, "Oh yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, sure.
Conversation, right?" I mean, they got my number because they went online and they forgot who they talked to. But somebody's advertising to them, and being in the right place at the right time, is really what this business is about a lot of times. And so in order to develop that, like the more people that are advertising, the more people putting out marketing, the more of a chance that people are going to actually be ready to sell when you sit down with them and talk to them. Right. So that's a big one. Timing and relationships. I mean, bad wholesalers, they form bad relationships. That's what happens. Yep. Like they might get a hit here and there, but the truth is, good wholesalers lead to really good relationships. I mean, we talked to Anthony Moore last Thursday, right? I'm sorry, that was 2 weeks ago. Holy cow, I'm fine. But like Anthony Moore, what's his number one marketing piece? Referrals. Treat people well. They're gonna like you. They're gonna work with you, and they're gonna refer their friends. Right. So it helps the industry, and the people that are no good, they're gonna fall off. That's it. That's easy. Now the fun stuff.
Other awesome
Now, I
reasons.
tried to find the most awesome graphic I could. What's more awesome than a bear with sunglasses?
Polar bear with
That's right.
sunglasses. Apparently looking at Miami. I mean, is he? What's this polar bear going to do? Is he about to go on a kill rage and eat a bunch of
Man,
tourists who aren't?
he's just cool. Look at him. He's just cool. He's just hanging out.
He's cool because he's not ready to go on a kill rage on a bunch of people who aren't social distancing in Florida right now with everything going on with COVID-19. That's what he's about to do.
All right. So over the years, I have done hundreds and hundreds of transactions. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
My very best deals have come from new wholesalers. You know why? Because they have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
And, I find that if I can cultivate a relationship with them.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Weidman agrees with Judah. New wholesalers have no idea what they're doing. Thank you.
And listen, new anything have no idea what they're doing. Right? Like,
right.
I don't know. If you got a 3-year-old that just starts riding a 2-wheeler, they have no idea what they're doing. That doesn't mean they're a bad person and you throw them out the door and like forget about them. Come on, man.
100%. 100%. I always use the analogy. This is getting started in anything. I have four kids, right? When they all learned how to walk, they all fell down a couple of times, and I never picked them up after the first time they fell down and said, "Oh, you're just not cut out to be a walker. It's all right."
Yeah.
So kids. So that's exactly what happens.
Well, so all right, they have no idea what they're doing. Is a big deal when it comes to a lot of the guys that are like they live in the community. And where do you start marketing for properties? Right where you live.
Right.
Like it's what you know. And so they'll talk to Mrs. Jones that lives down the street who's thinking about selling her house. And in their head, they think her house is worth nothing. If they can get it under contract for $50,000, then maybe they can sling it for 55. So I get a call and, wholesaler says, "Hey, I got this house at 123 Main Street. You interested? I'm asking 55,000. I look it up on the MLS and it's worth $250,000.
Right.
Fixed up and all that stuff. That stuff really happens. And am I going to say no? Heck no, I'm not. Yes, I'll take it at 55,000. Bring me the contract. We'll close next week. Right.
It's rock and roll.
Right. And you know what? After closing, I'm going to sit down with them and show them all the comps and tell them why not to do that again, but keep bringing me here. And the thing is, look, that might sound like a salty thing to do, but they just need $5,000. Right. And it's probably their first deal. And I'm going to be a great buyer for them. And you know what? I'm probably going to buy a deal from them a little too high next time, just so they can make a little bit more money. It's still going to make sense for me, but it's a win-win. Right. The good wholesalers are willing to learn. If you're out there and you're watching this show, and let's say you are not wholesaling, you have no intentions of wholesaling, but you want to flip a house, right? Hook up with as many young wholesalers as you can, not to get the lowest price on deals, but so that you can start teaching them what you want. I can tell you, I building relationships with young guys that have no buyers list, and they blast out their first email to like 200 people that they know, and nobody says anything. It's like crickets because the property's too high, the construction is way off, it's a total mess. Respond. Hey, let's say Taz sends me something. Hey, Taz, thanks for sending this to me. It's not exactly in the neighborhood I'm looking for, but look, man, I would love to buy this deal from you at, 25,000 less than you're asking. If that doesn't work, I understand. But look, here's why I think that. You do that 2 or 3 times, that guy's not going to send out a blast email. He's going to pick up the phone and call you first.
Directly, right.
Right. And so, maybe even call you before he goes to see the lead, and then you get to tell him what you'd probably pay for it. Right. He can build in his margin, and they end up being a huge part of your organization. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. The bad wholesalers, they make you look better. When you follow somebody that doesn't have a business card, that just starts throwing out numbers, that doesn't return phone calls, or maybe they sign a contract, they blast something out, and then they never return a phone call to the seller. Then they finally call you, and you walk in there, and you got a business card, you got a presentation packet, you got real contracts, You can explain the whole process to them, and when they have real questions, you have real answers. You look like a rock star. Now, when you offer 25,000 less for that same property, you can justify it, and they believe you.
And that's one thing that we've talked about from time to time is how there's times when you come in and you make an offer, and then 6 months later, 3 months later, whatever, you see that same property traded at a lower price than what you were offering, and it's probably because somebody better than you, smarter than you, came in behind you and was able to just build different rapport, touch on different emotional points, and justify the price differently.
Well, and Judah, the truth is, there's a lot of people better at this than me. So I love following new wholesalers.
Right. Right.
Right. All right. My favorite reason for my number one reason for wholesalers is that they provide free marketing. And you might not think that is something big, but like right now, finding a deal on the MLS that's worth buying, it's hard. It's hard. And I'm lending against some that are
I found one this morning. I found one this morning, by the way, on the MLS that I'm going to be making an offer on, and I'm going to be calling my buddy Josh Weidman to give me a hard money loan on it.
I love it. I love it. But so
yeah, I think it's worth 260, and I think that I can pick it up for 180. And so the numbers look pretty good. We're going to have to do about 20 to 30 in rehab. But yeah, it looks like it should be a pretty good deal.
That's awesome. All right. So let's say that you're somebody that wants to flip 2 houses a year. Mm-hmm. And you and your significant other, or you yourself, you've been doing this consistently. You find 2 houses a year. You got a contractor friend that does the work for you. You've got a closed network. Well, if you want to increase that to, let's say you just want to double it. And like up until this point, you've been able to go through the MLS. Maybe you have 1 or 2 wholesale connections that send you deals here and there, but you really want to up your game. And you decide, I'm going to start marketing. Well, look, finding 4 properties a year that you want to buy in a very closed market in a very small area seems like a pretty easy task. But you don't just have to market. Now you got to go see the deals. You got to negotiate it. You got to walk the thing through. You got to hold hands for the seller. There's a lot of work that goes into getting that deal from seller to the table, right? You can, and it can cost thousands of dollars in marketing dollars to get those deals. A lot of expertise, a lot of this and that. If you're a good wholesaler, the good wholesalers are experts at marketing. They're experts at all of the things that can go wrong in a deal before it comes to closing. And so, yes, you know what? You're not going to get that deal at $50,000 that the wholesaler signed up for $50,000. You might have to pay $65,000 for it. But if you bought it on the MLS, it would cost you $80,000. And so you're getting a big discount or a good discount without having to shovel out $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 a month in marketing just to get enough leads to find the deals that you're looking for.
Right.
And ultimately, look, you made the point at the very beginning that your biggest issue with wholesalers above everything else is that they give you bogus numbers. Well, guess what? Use your own numbers.
Yes.
And if the deal doesn't work, don't buy it. Correct. It's that simple.
100%.
That's it.
100%.
So I'm ready for an apology. I'm ready to kowtow to all the wholesalers and a group apology to the effort of the mass of important.
I am ready to apologize that we used a bear that looks straight out of the 80s. And we called that cool. And I apologize that I did not proof Josh's slides before he used them.
I'm getting that bear head. I'm going to put it on the t-shirt, and I can't wait to wear it on the show. I'm doing it. I'm doing it today.
Do you think, Josh, that our listeners enjoy our show as much as we enjoy each other on this show? I hope they do.
Part of my day.
Right. Absolutely. So here's the other thing. So, dear listeners, you can help us with something, because Josh and I are both separately and together in need of skip tracers. So reach out to Josh, let him know if you have used a good skip tracer in the past, if you know of a good skip tracer, even if you just have the name of a skip tracer that we can look up. we would be very interested in skip tracing. Also,
Well, yeah.
that's
I
kind of an off the wall request. If anybody has anything like that, where you're like, hey, I need a friend of mine just recently reached out and said, I need somebody to remove bats from a property, or I need a, exterminator for this or that or whatever. Josh and I want to be your resource in the real estate world. So if it smells like real estate, sounds like real estate, walks like real estate, and you need help with it, even if it's not realtor related, even if it's not, we go this way, even if it's not hard money related, reach out to us. Give us a
That's right.
call. We're very interested in having those conversations or responding to those emails.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So and that's all I got today. I mean, I don't know about you. You got any topics you want to cover?
No, the world's on fire. I am keeping my head down. I am focused on what it is that I know and what it is that I'm good at, and that is mostly buying and selling real estate, being an awesome dad, and attempting to be funny on this show.
And sometimes succeeding. Well done.
Right.
Well
I
done.
appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Hey, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. That's all we
Yes.
got. If you like the show, don't forget to like and share the video. We'll be back here at noon tomorrow. We're going to jump back into marketing and dig into another marketing outlet. Thanks so much. Have a great Tuesday and a great rest of the week. Take care.
See you, everybody.